Yeah, hey everyone. So in today's topic, we're going to cover more of JMX monitoring and specifically setting it up for our local Atom environment. So essentially what we'll do is go over the steps to enable JMX on our Atom. We'll set up JVisual VM, which will be our Java monitoring tool for JMX to reflect this. And we'll run a couple of processes so you guys can see spikes and kind of what you can do with JMX and any sort of monitoring tool associated with it. So with that said, we're going to first set up our Atom. So for my example, I'm going to be using the testing, and notice how it's going to be listening on localhost. Just remember that for now. I'm going to go to properties, and we're going to go to advanced once this loads. But we're going to essentially set all four JMX associated properties, and we'll go over what each of them will do. So there's going to be two ports. So the remote port and the RMI port, we're going to set them both to the same value. Essentially, it just needs to be any value that is open on your machine and no other application or Atom in this case is using it. So I'm going to set both 5002, which is the recommended port for this. This is in our help guide. Second item will be remote authentication and remote SSL. Note, you should set all four properties, as I mentioned, or you might see problems restarting or bringing up the Atom once these properties are implemented because you do need to restart. So JMX remote authentication, if you want to specify password auth, you can add a password file. That's kind of what you can do with this. I'm going to set it to no, so unchecked. And if you want to use SSL, also cleared by default. I don't want to use it, so I'm not going to set it. I'm going to click save. And then we'll be prompted for a restart. Great, I'm going to restart it now. And then in parallel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure Java Visual VM. So as I talked about, it comes by default with your JDK. So if you have a JDK on your machine, like I do in my program files, I'm just going to use that. So here, let me pull up my folder structure. Essentially what we're going to do, once again, this is all in our help guide if needed. So I'm going to go to program files, Java. Here's a JDK. I'll use the newest one. If you don't have a JDK on your machine, all you have to do is just download one from Oracle. And regardless, it's just going to be in the JDK home bin directory. So we're going to use, it's called JVisual VM, as you can see here. So that's Java Visual VM. So I'm just going to open this. And it opened on another screen, so I'll just put it into the current view. So first item that you're going to have to do, might be done for me already because I've used this previously, but if you have, go to available plugins, and here you should see Visual VM MBeans, and you're just going to install it. So all you would do is like click it, install it. And then once it's installed, you'll follow all those prompts that are given for you. You should restart the application, but once that's done, you should see here, Visual VM MBeans installed. So that's the only item you really have to do here is just make sure that that plugin is installed. Once it is, and you restart it, JVisual VM, all we're going to do is we're going to add a JMX connection. So let's just make sure our runtime environment did restart. Looks like it did. Let's just make sure the properties are implemented. And also with that said, we're using JVM just as an example, just because it comes with the JDK, but you can use essentially any Java monitoring tool that allows you to enable your JMX remotely. So any tool for that, this is just simple, free, and comes as a part of the JDK, which is why we're using it. Great, so all of this is set. So now with that said, all we're going to do is we're going to add a JMX connection. So here's my JVisual VM. So I'm going to go to File, add a JMX connection. So it's going to be the host name. So as we said, localhost, the port. So 5002 is what we set JMX port to. So not requiring SSL and security credentials. So at localhost, and there it is. Here's the process ID associated with it. And once I click on it, here's an overview, just some of the JVM arguments, system properties, but look at the monitoring. So you can monitor out of the box CPU usage, heap, threads, and classes. Pretty cool. There are other features and monitoring. So anything here is essentially what you can monitor. Anything Boomi is going to be obviously Boomi. Sun management, you can like any certificates and items of that sort. Just anything here. Our help guide explains essentially what each of these are and how to find them and what specifically you'll monitor from that. Another cool item with this is you can perform a heap dump. You can perform a garbage collection cycle. If you right click on it, you can also perform a thread dump, a snapshot, a couple pretty cool items that you can perform at will. So with that said, notice how not much is really going on. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a process on this. So what the process does is takes this large file, splits it up, and returns it. So it's going to jack up your CPU and memory usage. And so I'll run the test. And once it starts going, as we talked about, all this is in real time. They'll start to see a spike. So look right there in CPU usage and memory. You can see a spike. So it went up a little bit, about 20% of CPU usage. The garbage collector activity did kick off as well. You can see memory spiking a little bit here as well with the process running. Obviously, I have nothing really deployed or running on this, so this will be more accurate or more real time when you deploy processes and items of that sort, but I'm just kind of proving what's going on with this. So I'll just stop the process. Fine, you get the point of that. And then let's say I wanted to perform a garbage collection. So what I'll do is I'll perform this and look at any object, I guess, well, essentially we've talked about what that does, but it's going to remove any unreachable objects for any live threads. So look at how much that decreased the memory usage associated with that. So specifically the heap. That's kind of what I wanted to cover today. From there, you can get into more complex monitoring or use different tools, but this is kind of how it works out of the box. All right, sounds good, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.